I paid off my brother's debts, saved his business, and he repaid me by framing me for tax fraud. "You'll never prove it," he said with a smug grin. I looked at the accountant he didn't recognize and whispered, "He's been working for me for months." The IRS agent turned to him with a file that said, "I'm not even sure where to start with this. My hands are shaking just thinking about everything that happened. What I'm about to share took years off my life. I trusted my brother. I gave him everything he needed to get back on his feet, and he paid me back by almost sending me to prison. I'm 42 now. I live just outside Pittsburgh. I work in IT, mostly doing remote support for small companies. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and I like the quiet life. I never really made waves growing up. That was always Travis. My older brother. 2 years older, bigger, louder, always knew how to talk his way into and out of things. People loved him. Girls, teachers, our parents. Everyone. Me? I was the one fixing broken stuff in the garage, keeping to myself. Even as adults, that dynamic never really changed. Travis jumped around jobs. Tried out some businesses. First it was a landscaping thing, then a used car dealership, then finally he landed on an auto repair shop he opened in a rundown part of town. He called it Green's Garage, even though there were already 2 other shops nearby with better reputations. Still, he had charm. He could sell anything. Even if he couldn't fix a car to save his life. The truth is, Travis wasn't really good at much, except gambling. Cards, sports betting, online poker. He was deep into it for years. He kept telling people he was up, that he had systems. But I saw the warning signs. Borrowing from people. Always behind on rent. Getting edgy when you ask too many questions. In 2019, he came to me in a full panic. Said the shop was going under. Said he owed $120,000 and had 2 months before he'd have to shut the doors. Half the debt was to the IRS. The rest was a mix of suppliers, unpaid invoices, and a loan he took from some sketchy guy out in Monroeville. I didn't ask for all the details. I should have. He told me straight up, "Look, I'm screwed. But if I can just get caught up, I swear I can turn this thing around. You're the only one I can come to." I didn't answer right away. I told him I needed to think. But honestly, I already knew I was going to help him. I just needed to convince myself it wasn't a mistake. So, I did it. I opened up a line of credit, dipped into my retirement, even sold off a mutual fund I'd been sitting on for a decade. I transferred the money straight to his accounts, paid off the tax debt, cleared the supplier bills, and even set him up with a new accounting firm, my guy, Pete Marrow. Pete was solid. Older, sharp, not flashy. Just one of those guys who lives in spreadsheets and doesn't miss a thing. I told Travis this was a condition. He uses Pete, keeps everything clean, and gives me monthly reports. At first, Travis played along. We met twice a month. I helped him streamline things, cut out waste, added some simple scheduling software, even helped him hire a decent service writer. He seemed thankful, at least for a while. Then, after 6 months, the phone calls got less frequent. Texts went unanswered. I'd call and he'd say, "Hey, busy day, I'll call you back," but he never would. He stopped sending updates. When I finally drove down to the shop, he acted like I was an inconvenience. "What are you doing here, man?" "Just checking in. You haven't returned my messages in weeks. I've got it handled, all right? I don't need you breathing down my neck." He walked off. Just like that. I sat in my car for 10 minutes after that, wondering if I'd just made the dumbest mistake of my life. Turns out I had. Fast forward to early 2021. I get a letter from the IRS. Not a normal letter, an audit letter. They were flagging me for unreported income. A lot of it. About $247,000 over 2 years. I called my accountant immediately. "Pete, I don't understand. I never made that kind of money outside of what I reported." Pete started digging. He came back with something that made my skin go cold. "You're listed as a co-owner on Green's Garage. Looks like you've been paid regular consulting fees, about $10,000 a month since early 2020. I swear to God, I'd never seen a dime. And I sure as hell never signed anything making me a co-owner. I called Travis. What the hell did you do? What are you talking about? You used my name, my social, and made me look like I own part of the shop. Now, the IRS thinks I've been hiding hundreds of thousands. Whoa, calm down. This is probably just a clerical thing.
No, Travis.
It's not a clerical thing. You forged documents in my name. He hung up. Just like that. I couldn't sleep that night. Or the next. I started picturing courtrooms, orange jumpsuits, even prison. My brain spiraled into worst-case scenarios. I had built a decent life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And now it was all at risk because I trusted the wrong person. Pete met me in person the next week. He told me he believed me, but belief wasn't enough. We needed to prove it. So, he made a suggestion that changed everything. Let me get close to him again.
He doesn't recognize me.
If I can get him talking, we might be able to get real evidence. So Pete started dropping by the garage again. Said he was trying to reconnect as an old business associate. Travis bought it. Didn't even blink. He had no clue who Pete was. That's how little attention he paid to the guy handling his books for months. Pete got to work. Quietly, he recorded conversations. Took photos of invoices. Gathered paperwork. Even got a copy of the forged co-ownership agreement with a fake signature that looked nothing like mine. Then came the gold mine, an audio recording of Travis bragging to a supplier. Yeah, I put my brother on the books. Made it look like he took a cut. IRS is chasing him now. I'm clean. Pete sent me that clip. I played it at least a dozen times. My hands were shaking every time. After I heard that recording, I sat alone in my apartment for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, completely hollow. He had bragged about it. Like it was a joke. Like it wasn't my life he was playing with. The worst part of me still didn't want to destroy him.
He was my brother. Blood.
We grew up in the same house. But then I thought about my job, my reputation, the house I'd saved for, and how close I'd come to losing it all, just because I wanted to help him. That was the last time I felt sorry for him. Pete and I started building the case. We already had proof of the forged documents, audio of him admitting to the scheme, and a trail of fake payments sent under my name. But there was one thing missing. Why? Why would he do this to me? We didn't have to wonder for long. Pete managed to pull bank records. Travis had been paying himself through multiple side accounts. Even though the shop was barely scraping by on paper, he was moving money out under fake vendor names. One of those vendors? Tech Consulting, a name he made up using my initials. That's how he tied the money to me. It looked like I was siphoning money for services that didn't exist. He faked invoices, too. They looked real at a glance, but Pete spotted the holes. Wrong font, missing tax ID numbers, dates out of order. We handed all of this over to my attorney. That's when things got more complicated. The IRS wasn't the only one interested anymore. My lawyer told me there was a chance this could turn into a criminal investigation. If they thought I was part of it, even unknowingly, I could be on the hook. I was terrified. Every meeting with them felt like standing in front of a firing squad. I kept asking myself, how the hell did it get this far? Then, like the universe wanted to twist the knife deeper, I got a visit from someone I hadn't seen in years, our cousin Nate. He walked into my driveway one afternoon looking nervous as hell. Look, man, I didn't know what Travis was doing until it was too late. I asked what he meant. He offered me 10 grand to say I worked for that fake consulting company. He said it was a tax loophole. I figured it was shady, but I needed the cash. That was the final straw. Travis didn't just frame me. He involved family. And for what? So he could drive around in a lifted truck and blow cash on sports betting? I told Nate to write everything down. A full statement. He agreed. Said he wanted to make it right. He gave me emails, texts, even screenshots of bank transfers from Travis with notes like, "Don't say anything." We handed that over too. The IRS was paying attention now. They asked me to come in for a final audit review. Travis was summoned as well. They didn't tell him what they had. They just wanted him in the room. I walked into the office early. Pete was already there, calm as ever. He handed me a thick binder. Inside was everything. All of it cataloged, dated, labeled. I swear it looked like something out of a court trial. Then Travis walked in, all smug and smiling like this was some kind of game. "You nervous?" he whispered. I didn't say anything. Just looked at Pete. The agent came in. We all sat down. Travis kept leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, like he was invincible. "You'll never prove it," he muttered, loud enough for me to hear. I looked at Pete. "He doesn't recognize you," I said. Pete smirked. Then he stood up and handed the binder to the IRS agent. "My name's Pete Marrow. I was Mr. Green's accountant until early 2020. After that, I began working with his brother." Travis never noticed. The agent opened the file. Page 1 had Travis's forged documents. Page 2 was a transcript of the audio. Then came the bank records, the fake invoices, Nate's statement, and a printed text from Travis saying, "IRS is chasing my idiot brother. I'm in the clear." The agent didn't even blink. "Mr. Travis Green," he said, "we have reason to believe you've committed fraud, tax evasion, identity theft, and falsification of business documents. We'll be pausing this review and opening a formal criminal investigation." Travis sat forward real fast. "Wait, what? This is insane. They're setting me up." I sat still. Didn't say a word. The agent slid the binder toward him. "Everything in there is backed by federal records, witness statements, and audio evidence. If you have a defense, now would be the time." Travis looked lost. Cornered. Then he turned and glared at me. "You think you're so smart?" Still, I said nothing. The agent asked him to leave the room. I stayed behind. I don't know what I expected, maybe relief? But I mostly felt numb. A week after that IRS meeting, things started moving fast. Travis stopped contacting me completely. Not a text, not a call, nothing. I figured he was too busy trying to clean up the mess or running scared. Either way, I stayed out of it. My lawyer told me to stay quiet and let the investigation play out.
So I did.
But then something happened I didn't expect. Pete got a call from the IRS. They were already pulling Travis's tax returns, but what they found triggered something bigger. Turns out, this wasn't the first time Travis used someone else's identity to cover his financial tracks. There were signs he'd done this with an old business partner years ago in Ohio. Same trick. Fake invoices, phony names, funneling cash out of the business, leaving someone else holding the bag. That guy. He ended up bankrupt and divorced. Apparently, he had tried to sue Travis but couldn't afford the legal fees. Now that guy was a federal witness. The IRS handed the case over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. It was no longer just tax fraud. It was wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud across state lines. Federal charges. This wasn't going to be a slap on the wrist. But it wasn't over. A few weeks later, I came home to find a manila envelope shoved under my front door. No name. No return address. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages between Travis and someone named D. I didn't recognize the number, but the text made my stomach drop. Travis. He's got nothing. Pete can't prove S***T. D. You sure? Travis. If he pushes, we hit back. I know stuff about his work stuff. VPN logs, contracts. He's not so clean either. My name wasn't in the messages directly, but it was obvious he was talking about me. He was planning to set me up a second time, this time by trying to mess with my side consulting work. Most of my clients were small businesses, but I still handled sensitive data. If someone claimed I'd breached contracts or mishandled client files, I could lose everything. Not just my business, my main job, too. I had no idea who D was, but Pete and I had a theory. Travis was reaching out to someone in IT, or maybe someone he'd hired on the side, to try and plant something, hack into my systems, or create a trail of false evidence again. I went straight to my lawyer. She got the FBI involved this time. 2 agents came to my apartment and asked to see my computer. I showed them everything: VPN logs, backups, work records. They brought in someone from cybercrime and confirmed someone had tried to remote into one of my old backup servers 3 weeks earlier. That's when it clicked. Travis wasn't just trying to protect himself, he was still trying to burn me to the ground. Even while under investigation, the agents told me to keep quiet. If Travis was trying to coordinate with someone else, they wanted to catch both of them in the act. So I waited. 3 weeks later, they had the full picture. D was Derek Malloy, a guy Travis met through a betting forum. An amateur coder who ran a shady tech gig out of his basement in Wheeling, West Virginia. Derek admitted to being offered $8,000 to break into my system and plant files showing I'd misused client data. But Derek wasn't exactly a mastermind. He kept everything. Email threads, Venmo transfers, even the USB drive Travis mailed him with some fake files he wanted planted. They arrested him. And when they did, he gave them everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. The case against Travis went from bad to worse. But here's the twist that truly blew me away. The U.S. attorney told me there was a chance Travis had done this to other people, maybe even under fake names. They found 3 more sets of forged IDs in a safe deposit box linked to him, all tied to shell companies that had taken out loans or filed fake tax returns. I don't know all the details, but it looked like he'd been running scams for years, and I was just the latest idiot who tried to help. When the federal charges were finally listed out, they included tax fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, attempted cybercrime, conspiracy to commit federal offenses, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice, but he still hadn't been arrested yet. He was out, walking free, and that's when he tried one last move.
He showed up at my job.
I was walking to my car one evening, just after sunset. He was leaning on my hood. "You happy now?" he said. I froze. Every instinct told me to walk away, but I couldn't. "I didn't do this to you. You did this to yourself."
He laughed.
"You think I'm scared of some court? You think this ends with me in cuffs? You're not clean either, little brother. You've made mistakes." He stepped closer. "You always wanted me to fail. Admit it."
No.
"I wanted you to grow up." He stared at me for a long second, then walked off into the parking lot. I called the FBI agent assigned to the case, told them what happened. They issued a no-contact order the next day. But I didn't feel safe. Not yet. After that parking lot incident, I started carrying a baseball bat in my trunk, just in case. I hated feeling that way. I hated that Travis could still get under my skin even after everything he'd done. I kept telling myself, just hold on. Let the process play out. Don't ruin this by losing control now. Then the hammer dropped. 3 months after Derek's arrest, a federal grand jury indicted Travis. 26 felony counts. The U.S. Marshals picked him up at a bar in Bridgeville. No warning, no time to run. They put him in cuffs in front of half the town. Word got around quick. Even people who used to praise him turned quiet. You could see the shift. It was like they all realized at once. Travis wasn't just a screw-up. He was dangerous. He was denied bail. His lawyer tried every trick. Claimed I'd set him up, claimed the recordings were fake, said Pete and I were in on a scam together. None of it held up. The evidence was too deep, too layered. Every fake payment, every forged invoice, every audio clip, it all told the same story. But here's the part that still hits me. When the FBI raided his place, they found an entire binder full of dirt on me. Old emails, printed texts, photos of me coming and going from work, a flash drive with Plan B written on it. He was obsessed with taking me down. He hated that I'd beaten him at his own game, that I'd outsmarted him without raising my voice. The trial lasted 4 weeks. I testified for 2 full days.
So did Pete. So did Nate.
So did Derek. The prosecution laid it all out. Travis's history of fraud, his gambling, his fake documents, his lies. And the moment that sealed it? When they played the recording where Travis bragged about setting up my brother to take the fall. The courtroom went quiet. Travis didn't even flinch. He just stared straight ahead, dead in the eyes. Like he still believed he'd walk free. The jury took less than 2 hours.
Guilty.
On all counts. Sentencing came 2 months later. I sat in the front row, right behind the prosecutor. Travis shuffled in wearing an orange jumpsuit and shackles. His hair was overgrown, face sunken. He looked smaller somehow. Not just physically, like the arrogance had finally drained out of him. The judge didn't hold back. Mr. Green, your crimes were deliberate, calculated, and cruel. You didn't just break the law. You weaponized trust. Your brother saved your life financially, and you repaid him with betrayal. You tried to destroy him. And when that failed, you tried again. The sentence, 22 years in federal prison, no parole, plus full financial restitution to everyone he stole from, including me. The judge also barred him from ever owning or operating a business again. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just sat there. For the first time in years, my body finally relaxed. But that wasn't the end. The court forced a public auction of all Travis's assets. His house, his truck, his tools, even the old garage. And I bought it. Every piece of it. I showed up to the auction in a plain black hoodie and sunglasses. Paid cash. People whispered. Some of them knew who I was. Some didn't. I didn't care. I bulldozed the shop. Flattened it. In its place, I built something new, a non-profit auto training center. For recovering addicts and ex-cons trying to restart their lives. I named it Pete's Place. In honor of the only man besides my lawyer who never gave up on me. On opening day, I stood in front of the building, looking at the brand new sign. A few reporters showed up. I gave a short speech. Someone once told me family doesn't mean trust. It's what you do that shows who you are. This place is about second chances, but only for people who earn them. I didn't say my brother's name. I didn't need to. Travis tried to write me a letter from prison 6 months later. It started with "I'm sorry" and ended with "maybe one day you'll forgive me." I never opened another one after that. I still live in the same apartment. I still work my quiet IT job. I still keep Pete on retainer, just in case. I've learned to sleep again. But I'll never forget that moment, sitting in that IRS office, Travis smirking across from me, thinking he had won. And the look on his face when Pete stood up? That's the moment I replay when I need a reason to smile. That was the day I took my life back and burned his world to the ground.